Northern Ireland's Footballing Greats presents Northern Ireland's all-time 11s.
Northern Ireland's most recent English title winners. At the time of recording, it looks incredibly likely that Liverpool's Conor is just days away from becoming the 22nd different Northern Ireland international to claim an English title. He would follow in the footsteps of Elisha Scott, who won 2 titles with Liverpool in the 1920s. The previous 21 men have claimed a total of 30 winners' medals in the Football League or Premier League, with the first being Jack "Baldy" Reynolds with Aston Villa back in 1894. Reynolds, of course, throws up 2 points of note. At the time, the Irish FA organised football across the whole of Ireland, and Reynolds was by that stage an active England international. Reynolds won a total of 3 titles, a record only matched twice by players capped by the IFA. For the purposes of this video, a player is considered to have won the title if they have played in 10 or more matches in the title-winning season. Several players who have played less matches in a title-winning season have therefore not been considered for this 11. So prior to 2025, who are the 11 most recent English title winners from Northern Ireland? Jonny Evans, Manchester United. Defender. 3 titles, 2009, 2011 and 2013. We have to go back over a decade for Northern Ireland's most recent Premier League champion. Jonny Evans was a product of United's youth setup and had won a Football League Championship, second-tier title while out on loan with Sunderland before establishing himself in the first-team squad at Old Trafford. A skillful central defender, he was largely back-up to the likes of Rio Ferdinand and Nemanja Vidic throughout his United career, but was regarded as a vital part of Sir Alex Ferguson's player pool. He is Northern Ireland's most decorated player to have featured in English football with 3 Premier League titles, a League Cup, a FIFA Club World Cup, 2 Community Shields and an FA Cup claimed after he returned to Old Trafford in 2023. Evans initially left United in 2015, playing for West Brom and Leicester, where he also claimed an FA Cup winners' medal. For Northern Ireland, he claimed 107 caps, making his debut in a famous 3-2 win over Spain in 2006, and was a key part of the Euro 2016 campaign. Roy Carroll, Manchester United. Goalkeeper. 1 title, 2003. Carroll was the first Northern Ireland champion of the Premier League era. After gaining experience in the lower leagues with Hull and Wigan, Alex Ferguson brought him to United as understudy to French World Cup winner Fabien Barthez. It was only with appearances in the final 2 matches of the 2002-2003 season that Carroll reached the threshold of 10 games to officially earn his medal. He remained at Old Trafford for another 2 years, and although generally back-up, he did come on as a sub to win the FA Cup in 2004 and started in the 2005 Cup final shortly before his departure, but ended up a runner-up following a shootout defeat by Arsenal. He subsequently played for West Ham and Derby County in the Premier League before spells in Denmark and Greece. Carroll also won titles in Greece, with Olympiakos in 2013, and Northern Ireland, with Linfield in 2017 and 2019. Prior to 1992, the top flight in England had been the Football League First Division. John McClelland, Leeds United. Defender. 1 title, 1992. The 33-year-old McClelland joined Leeds in 1989, but due to injuries he barely featured in their promotion back to the top flight in 89-90 or in the 1991 season, when they finished in an impressive 4th position. A change of boots cured him from his injury problems, and he was a regular in the centre of defence, as Leeds enjoyed an excellent start to the 1991-92 season. He lost his place midway through the campaign, and spent March on loan with Notts County, meaning he played for both the title-winning team and a relegated team in the same season. He left Elland Road in the summer of 1992. Before playing for Leeds, he had had a lengthy career with Portadown, Cardiff, Bangor City, Rangers and Watford, and was part of Northern Ireland's early 80s successes. He became player manager of St Johnstone and made his final league appearance at the age of 40 for Darlington in 1996. Martin O'Neill, Nottingham Forest. Midfielder. 1 title, 1978. When Martin O'Neill arrived at Nottingham Forest in 1971 from Distillery, he could scarcely have imagined he'd win a title, let alone 2 European Cups, while at the City Ground. No doubt the uber-confident O'Neill knew he was capable of reaching those levels, but he would likely have regarded a yo-yo club such as Forest as a mere stepping stone. Then came Brian Clough, who took the Tricky Trees to promotion in 1977, the title in 1978, and back-to-back European Cups in 1979 and 1980. Add to that 2 League Cups, a UEFA Super Cup and an Anglo-Scottish Cup. That's quite a trophy haul for a player with the comparative minnows that were Nottingham Forest. First capped as an inside forward while a teenager with Distillery, by the time he was appointed Northern Ireland captain in 1980, he was a more withdrawn attacking wide midfielder, and again he could scarcely imagine what was to follow. He led Northern Ireland at the 1982 World Cup and to the 1984 British Championship. He left Forest for Norwich City in 1981, and had spells with Manchester City and Notts County before his career was ended by injury in 1985. He entered management and enjoyed notable success with Leicester City and Celtic before taking charge of the Republic of Ireland at Euro 2016. Pat Rice, Arsenal, right back, 1 title, 1971. Although born in Belfast, Pat Rice moved to London as a boy, growing up about a mile away from Highbury. He joined Arsenal as an apprentice, turning professional in 1966, the same year he won the FA Youth Cup. He made his first team debut in 1967, but it would be the 1970-71 season before he established himself in the first 11. And what a season it was! Arsenal pipped Leeds to the title by a single point, a last-day 1-0 win over Spurs confirming the win. 5 days later, the double was wrapped up, as Liverpool were defeated in extra time of the FA Cup final. Rice remained Arsenal's regular right-back throughout the 70s, as the club initially continued to challenge for honours, finishing runners-up in the FA Cup in 1972 and in the league in 1973. By the mid-70s, however, they were struggling, and it was only after new boss, Terry Neill, appointed Rice as captain in 1976 that things began to turn around. Rice led the team to 3 consecutive FA Cup finals and a Cup Winners' Cup final in 1980, but ultimately the club won just one of those matches, the 1979 FA Cup, with a dramatic win over Manchester United. Rice left Arsenal behind in 1980 and helped Watford to promotion to the First Division and league runners-up spot in 1983. He returned to Arsenal as a coach in 1984 and stayed until he retired in 2012, having served as Arsene Wenger's assistant since 1996. Tommy Jackson, Everton, halfback, 1 title, 1970. Jackson's tenacious play in the middle of the park came to prominence while he was with Glentoran in the mid-60s. His most famous performance for the Glens was perhaps a 1967 European Cup tie against Benfica, when his man-marking job on Eusebio virtually nullified one of the game's all-time greats in a 1-1 draw at the Oval. After 2 Irish League titles, he joined Everton in February 1968. He was installed as backup to the regular holy trinity of midfielders, Alan Ball, Howard Kendall and Colin Harvey, slotting in should any of that trio be unavailable. He was recognised as a vital member of the Toffees squad that won the 1969-70 title, playing 15 games to claim a well-earned medal. He moved on to Nottingham Forest the following season, and was a surprise signing for Manchester United in 1975. Jackson's versatility was used to great effect at international level, as he featured across midfield and defence throughout the 60s and 70s. In 1978 he entered management, leading Waterford to the FAI Cup in 1980, and he would also claim honours while in charge of Crusaders and Glentoran. In 1991 the Glens faced Everton in Jackson's testimonial at the Oval. George Best, Manchester United, forward, 2 titles, 1965 and 1967. What is there to say about Bestie, a cultural icon and one of the most talented players ever to take the field? He emerged on the United team in the 1960s, quickly earning the moniker of El Beetle, as his mop-top haircut and overall talent put him on a par with the Merseyside pop phenomenon. He starred in every forward role for United, earning 2 league titles, and in 1968, the European Cup. In the final, he scored a brilliant solo goal as United defeated Eusebio's Benfica to become England's first winners. That year his performances also brought him the Ballon d'Or award, becoming the only player from Northern Ireland ever to be recognised as Europe's best. Sadly, United failed to build on that success, and many of the older players moved on. Best was left to carry the team. He still put in some remarkable performances, such as his double hat-trick in an FA Cup tie at Northampton, and was United's top goalscorer for 5 consecutive seasons. But the hard tackles and the on and off field pressures weighed heavily on a man still in his mid-20s, and Best announced his retirement in 1972. He was coaxed back before walking away from Old Trafford for the final time in January 1974, shortly before United's relegation to Division 2. Best travelled the world playing football for the next decade and was seldom away from the headlines for the rest of his life. His lasting hope was that people remember the football. Billy Bingham, Everton. Outside right. One title, 1963. The next 3 players on this list are ex-Glentoran players who emerged in the immediate post-Second World War years before moving to England, starring at the 1958 World Cup, and became the first players to win over 50 Northern Ireland caps. An industrious winger with a powerful shot, Bingham had joined Sunderland in 1950, but it would be a decade of struggle for the Bank of England club, culminating in a first-ever relegation in 1958. He remained in the First Division with Minnows Luton Town, and despite a cup final appearance in 1959, he suffered another relegation a year later. A £15,000 move to Everton brought a rapid return to Division 1, and he became part of a team that challenged towards the top end of the table, finishing 5th in 1961 and 4th in 1962. He began the 62-63 season on the right wing, but lost his place mid-season as the Toffees romped to the title by a 6-point margin from reigning champions Spurs. Bingham left Goodison behind that summer, dropping down to the 3rd Division with Port Vale. He retired as a player in 1965, entering management with Southport. He enjoyed a near 30-year managerial career that would take him back to Everton in the mid-70s, and to 2 World Cups with Northern Ireland. Danny Blanchflower, Tottenham Hotspur. Right half. 1 title. 1961. Through the 1950s, Danny Blanchflower had developed several reputations. He was articulate, but outspoken. He was a leader, but anti-authority. He was gifted, but lacked honours. Sure, he had been Footballer of the Year in 1958, and had captained Northern Ireland to a World Cup quarter-final, where he had been selected as wing-half in the team of the tournament. But there were no winners' medals. In the newspaper columns he wrote through much of his playing career, Blanchflower described both the difficulty and the possibility of claiming the elusive league and cup double, a feat that had not been achieved in the English game since the 1890s, and it was fitting that, at 35, his first honours were as captain of Spurs' 1961 Football League and FA Cup winning team. He collected a second Footballer of the Year award too. Those trophies were quickly followed up with another FA Cup in 1962, and the Cup Winners' Cup in 1963, the first European trophy won by a British side. With a then record 56 Northern Ireland caps, he retired from playing in 1964 and entered full-time journalism. He also served as manager of Northern Ireland and Chelsea in the late 70s, but returned to journalism before hanging up his pen in 1988. Northern Ireland faced Spurs in his testimonial match in 1990, but sadly he was struck with Alzheimer's disease and passed away at the age of 67 in 1993. Danny's younger brother Jackie was also a title winner, but falls just outside the scope of this list. Jimmy McIlroy, Burnley. Inside forward. 1 title. 1960. A mercurial, scheming inside forward, McIlroy arrived in Burnley in 1950 and initially regarded the industrial town as a bit grim, but quickly warmed to his surroundings. Over the next decade he was a constant target for bigger clubs, but there was no reason for him to leave a club where he felt at home, that consistently finished in the top half of the First Division, and when the maximum wage meant he wouldn't be earning more elsewhere. His loyalty was rewarded in 1960 when the Clarets pipped Wolves and Spurs in a tight title race. Burnley had not been top of the table at any point in the season up until their final match. Although that was to be McIlroy's only major honour in England, Burnley did finish runners-up in both the league and cup. In 1962, Burnley fans were distraught when McIlroy was allowed to leave in 1963 at the age of just 31. He enjoyed 3 years with Stoke, helping them to promotion and top-flight stability before entering management as player boss of Oldham. He settled in Burnley, being awarded freedom of the borough, and had a stand at Turf Moor named in his honour. He also collected an MBE and had a park in his native Lambeg named in his honour. Jimmy McIlroy passed away in 2018 at the age of 86 and was acknowledged as Burnley's greatest ever player. Alex Elder, Burnley, left back, one title, 1960. When Burnley claimed the title in 1960, their entire first-team squad had cost just £13,000, all of which had been paid to Glentoran. £8,000 had been spent on Jimmy McIlroy in 1950, with the remaining £5,000 taking 17-year-old Alex Elder to Turf Moor in January 1959. Elder established himself as left-back early in the 1959-60 season when injuries forced Harry Potts into a defensive reshuffle in May 1960. Shortly after his 19th birthday, Elder was champion of England. A modern marauding fullback, he played in the 1962 Cup final defeat by Spurs, and when Burnley mustered another title charge in 1965-66 he was club captain. But it was an Elder own goal against Leeds that saw them falter to third place. He left Burnley for Stoke in 1967 for a £50,000 fee, but a knee injury collected in his first pre-season would blight his time in the Potteries. His league career ended in 1973, but he continued to pull on his boots in the Cheshire League for Leek Town. In retirement, Elder has lived in Spain. So, to recap the most recent 11 Northern Ireland players to have collected an English title, we have Roy Carroll, Pat Rice, Alex Elder, John McClelland, Johnny Evans, Danny Blanchflower, Tommy Jackson, Billy Bingham, Martin O'Neill, Jimmy McIlroy, and George Best. Will Conor Bradley join them?
Thank you for watching. Please visit the website at nifootball.blogspot.com, follow on X at JCDNIFG, and don't forget to like and share this video here on YouTube. Your comments are very welcome. It would be great to hear your feedback and suggestions for future videos. Please do keep your comments respectful and look out for a new video soon.